Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. We are here tonight, and as always, we have an amazing guest. But before we bring in our guest, I just wanted to talk to you about the recall of coconut water. Now, this is not new. It happened, or it was announced back in November, beginning in November, but they have increasingly been talking about it. So I wanted to make sure that I mention it on this show. The company is Jarritos. However, I know that one of the very popular brands here in the United States is Vita Coco. And it's the coconut water that you can either find in a can or the cartons. They are filled with bacteria. So I wanted to let people know that you want to make sure that you are getting rid of this this coconut water, if you have it in your home. Make sure that you are throwing it away. Don't try to separate anything in the cartons or the cans. Just throw it away. You do not want to have this bacteria come in contact with your body. You don't want to ingest this. So throw it out. If you can look for other brands out there that may be better, that are packaged differently, where you can actually see the coconut water, do so. Make sure you do your research and your homework on that. And if you can find actual coconuts that you can just drink from. It's hard to find in the United States, but if you can find them, just drink right out of the coconut. That's going to be healthier for you. And I know coconut water is hydrating and it's filled with electrolytes naturally, but the best way to get it is from an actual coconut. So make sure that you are throwing those cartons and cans of coconut water away. All right. So we have an amazing guest on this show tonight. And I don't even know if we're going to actually have enough time to cover. So I'm just going to put it out here in the beginning. She's probably going to have to come back because I know there's so much to talk about, even just talking to her backstage, just getting into the conversation about wellness. Wow. She is amazing. Her name is Jane Durst-Pulkys. She is a PhD. She's a clinical and holistic nutritionist, author, educator, international speaker, and metabolic balanced nutritional coach. And what does that mean? You can get your tongue tied saying metabolic balanced nutritional coach, but I want you to remember that because it's very important. And she's going to get into what that means. She is the Metabolic Balance brand ambassador for the United States and specializes in weight management practices in Canada, the US, and Hong Kong. Jane's clinical focus includes resetting, we like to reset here on this show, resetting the metabolism, reducing inflammation, balancing hormones, and achieving optimal weight. So many things that allow you to live super healthy. She's a nutritional coach for physicians and therapists, works with athletes, advises corporate executives, and consults with people from all walks of life. Fortune 500 companies find Jane's wellness and health programs to be extremely valuable for their executives and employees. And I know that you are going to as well. Jane is a faculty member and advisor for the Institute of Holistic Nutrition in Toronto and an authority on health and peak performance. With over 40 years of practical experience, Jane is on the leading edge of proactive approaches to personal health and speaks about health and wellness internationally. And it's so special that we have her here tonight. She is also the author of the book on confidence, and a frequent guest on TV and radio. Her latest book is published by Ben Bella Books it got published on December 10th, 2024. It is called The Metabolic Balance Kitchen. So you want to make sure that you get your copy, and we're going to tell you how you can. The rest of that title is Deliciously Satisfying Recipes to Reset Your Metabolism, Fight Inflammation, and Lose Weight. And Jane is going to tell you how. Her passion is psychology of disease, why people get sick. I can't wait to jump into this. So without further ado, we're going to give her a virtual round of applause. I want you to put your hands together for Jane Durst-Pulkys. Hello.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love talking about this, and I'm so honored to be on your show. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I'm honored. And I want to get into this. And I love that your passion. I want to start with, because I know that some people don't even know what that means. What is the metabolic balance?
So the Metabolic Balance is a program that was created by a German physician whose name is Dr. Wolf Funfack in the year 2000. And it currently is in now 45 countries around the world. But it is a program specifically designed to help to balance out your hormones, to reduce inflammation in your body, and to balance your weight. And it's customized and individualized for every single person. So no two people ever get the same program. So it's a plan that we create based on your 36 blood values. So if you're my client, you're going to fill out a personal health history form. We want to know everything. Do you have migraines? Do you have joint pain? Do you have arthritis? Do you have lupus? Do you have any type of disease? Is all taken into consideration in the generation of the plan. Then the client goes and get their blood work done. And what Metabolic Balance Germany does is they put the foods together based off of the blood values. For instance, I had a client this evening. She has a really high CRP level. So CRP stands for C-reactive protein. It's the level of inflammation in the body. So every single food that's been selected for her body to help her manage the weight. Now we're looking at 50 pounds here, what she wants to lose. She's going to get food that's specifically for her body. Now, what's interesting about this program is it's really designed to change the way insulin works in your body. Now, we've all heard of this word insulin, but what does it really mean? When insulin is elevated in the body for long periods of time, it can create something called metabolic syndrome. And we've all heard of that. Now, we also have to take a look at the size of someone's waist. So if the waist size of a female at the belly button is over 35 inches or 40 inches for a male, then we are at a risk factor of having diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular problems, menopausal symptoms, high blood pressure. So the plan is designed to work on reducing metabolic syndrome, but it's mostly designed to work on that visceral fat. So we've heard of brown fat, white fat, subcutaneous fat, visceral, and the visceral. So we want to work on the visceral fat. So that's the fat that lies right behind the belly button. And that fat puts something into your system called inflammatory cytokines. And this fat wraps around the organs and it causes all kinds of problems for people, which is what we're trying to reduce. Now, Dr. Wolf also decided and came up with the idea that in order to balance out insulin, we need to actually follow some general rules. So the plan, each person gets their own unique individualized program based off of their blood values, based off their personal health history, but they do have to follow 8 rules, and they are 3 meals a day. So, lots of people come to me and they only have 1 meal a day, or they do intermittent fasting and then they blow it in the evening because they're starving. So we have 3 meals a day with no snacking, because every time you eat more than 3 times a day, insulin levels are going to rise, and this is where you're going to gain weight. We want you to have 3 meals a day with a 5-hour to maximum 7-hour break between meals. But if you eat more frequently than that, then it's going to cause you to gain weight. We also have, one of the rules is to have 2 bites of protein before you eat anything else. So if you haven't had your dinner tonight and you're having chicken, brown rice, and broccoli, you're going to have 2 bites of the chicken first, because this releases a different hormone called glucagon and not insulin. And what's interesting, Tracy, when you do that, you eat less food. So if you have to go to a cocktail party, before you have anything to eat or drink, don't grab a carrot, have a piece of cheese or have some nuts, because that's going to stabilize your insulin. We also want people to only have 1 protein per meal. So, sometimes we go out for dinner, we have a little bit of shrimp, and then we have some cheesecake, and we have some steak. When you mix all these proteins together, your body is going to become over acid. And when it becomes over acid, it's very difficult to lose weight. We also don't want to have the same protein twice in one day. So you don't want to have chicken for lunch and chicken for dinner. You really do want to have a mixture of foods. You also have to have 1 apple a day, and we go for the non-sweet versions like the Granny Smith, Macintosh, Royal Gala. And of course, each person has their water calculated based off of their biochemistry. So some people might drink 1.5 liters. Some people might have to have 4 liters a day. So they get a customized plan based off of the blood values and the results coming back from Germany. And they have to do a cleanse in the beginning, just for 2 days. And the cleanse really helps to open up the pathways, get rid of toxins, help you reduce sugar cravings, reduce salt cravings, and to get everything working. I always think of metabolic balance as like your body's like the most precious Swiss watch. But if you get gunk in there, it doesn't work. So when we do the cleanse, we get rid of the gunk. And we know a Swiss watch is so precise, and then everything works so much better. So we start the plan off with a little bit of a cleanse, and then you have options to have fruit, vegetables, potatoes, or rice for 2 days, and then you go on your program. Now, people do have to weigh their food, because everything, the protein, the fats, the carbohydrates, are calculated based off of your blood chemistry. And so therefore you get the highest biological value and the lowest glycemic index food. What does that mean in English? It means you're not going to be hungry, because we're going to give you the fat, we're going to give you the proper protein, we're going to give you the proper carbohydrates. And people freak out. Oh my God, I don't eat any carbs. You need carbs. Carbs is the fuel for your body, especially if you work out. You need available energy to your body. Now, when we talk about carbs, we're talking about fruits and vegetables and grains. We're not talking about pizza, pasta, bagels, muffins. Those are the Those are the bad carbs. We don't want to have that. But the results are phenomenal, Tracy. So people can lose between 5 and 20 pounds literally in the first 2 weeks. And what's also interesting is we encourage them to not exercise in those first 2 weeks because your body's in a healing mode. Then we add the exercise, then we add oils, then we add a treat meal. So imagine I have a client who's close to 100 pounds of weight loss. And every single week on Saturday night, she has a treat meal. She eats and drinks whatever she wants, and she's back in her program the next day. Because we have to live in the real world. We have to be able to socialize. We have to be able to go to a baptism. We have to be able to go to a birthday party. We have to be able to have a little pizza on Friday night. So this allows people to integrate into their life and not feel like they're being so restricted. And the side effects long term, well, fatty liver disease is turned around, heart disease is turned around, thyroid issues are fixed, high blood pressure. I have so many clients who go off their thyroid medications, not thyroid, sorry, high blood pressure medication, fatty liver disease, like just gone. It's unbelievable. And not to mention psoriasis, eczema, all of these things, they all get better. And the best part about it, when someone's done, they look 10 years younger. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm sure you have lots of questions, and I get so excited. I enjoy myself.
And I couldn't stop you because it's just, I'm like taking it all in. I'm taking notes and everything. But oh my gosh, there was so much that was said there. So the first thing I wanted to just pinpoint is the fact that you do an individualized program, an individualized approach and look
Right.
at a person so that you can pinpoint exactly what they need. I think that's important to highlight because oftentimes people join programs that is cookie cutter, it's everybody does the same thing and then everybody's not getting results, right? So I love that this is individualized. I wanted to ask you too about the visceral fat, like just so people can understand how that starts to collect, behind your belly button, like what's contributing to that?
It's contributing to that because your insulin levels are too high for too long. So let me give you an example. Lots of my clients who come to see me, they have a banana and a cappuccino in the morning. Well, that's just going to make your sugar levels go high, so high. And then you might have a bagel, which has a glycemic index of 100. So this is also raising your sugars. So the visceral fat gets accumulated because the sugars are constantly and consistently too high. And if you look at, I know in the States you guys call it soda, we call it pop here. When people consume this, like there's a lot of sugar in those drinks. And there's a lot of sugar in these coffees and the cold coffees or the iced coffees. It's really quite shocking to see what people are doing, and they think it's okay because the food manufacturers are providing this, but there's a constant consistent level of high insulin foods ingested. That, let's give you an example. If you turn on the bathtub and you walk away and you go down to the kitchen, that bathtub is going to overflow with that water. That's kind of like what happens with insulin. It overflows. And then when everything overflows, your cells can't uptake the insulin. So therefore, you start creating all these cytokines, which creates a problem because you have too much sugar in your system consistently. And metabolic balance, one thing that's amazing about this is that every meal has a fruit, like things like mango and papaya and apples and strawberries. But when you combine that with a good protein and a good carbohydrate and the proper fats, you don't get that spike in insulin is what's happening to people because people are, I had 3 kids. You grab and run. You got to take them to baseball. You got to take them to hockey. So they grab things that are fast and easy, like a bowl of pasta. Well, there's not a lot of protein in that. So it's going to spike the insulin. So when insulin levels are too high, visceral fat starts to accumulate. And this fat has like a secret code, a secret thing that's going on. And it's disturbing, your heart, your lungs, your kidney, your pancreas. And we don't want to, and it can lead, and my client tonight, she had full on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And she's like, how do I have this? It's because you're snacking all day and you're eating the wrong things. So we just need to, educate her. Well, she's on her plan starting tomorrow, but we give her the right foods to bring the sugars down so the visceral fat doesn't accumulate. And yeah, I mean, we don't, it's so measurable. Like you just have to take a measuring tape and wrap it right over your belly button, just relaxing. And people also have a tendency to believe that, I'm 65 years old, I can never get back my weight again. I don't buy that for 1 second, because I'm 66 and I've been able to maintain my weight for, years. So we want, you want, once you start eating properly, the cravings go away too, because all the things that you're looking for, like if you don't have fat, you're going to look for sugar later. So we want to make sure that each person has the proper fat, proper protein, the proper carbohydrates. And it's amazing because even when a couple does this, they look at their plans, they're completely different. But they can meet in the middle and have dinner together and pick the foods that are similar. So it's really, it makes it easier for them to do it together too.
I love that. So I want to talk about, because you were talking about when people get educated, right? I want to talk about some, a little bit of the miseducation that happens, in the healthcare systems, or the lack of information that's given, right? Where people they're blindsided by certain illnesses, right? When they find out, when they go through like a program like yours, or something happens where they have a pain or a rash, or something happens to alert them that something's going wrong in their body. But we don't normally get that proactive information up front to be able to say, something's happening and I need to do something about it earlier than I need to be reactive. So talk a little bit about the miseducation and why your program is so key, because I don't think people should just come to you when they have an issue. I think people should come to you because they want to know what's going on in their body.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, ask me that question one more time.
Yeah, just the differences between like the miseducation
Okay.
and kind of what you get when you're doing the metabolic balance.
So I believe that, we're conditioned, as we were talking earlier. When I went to university, when I was like 21 years old, I walked out with a degree in nutrition, but I didn't know what to eat. Literally, I was eating Cool Whip, Diet Coke, and bagels. I was also a marathon runner, but we were not taught the actual healthy eating. We were taught the science of nutrition. So making me repeat the Krebs cycle and drawing the amino acids and be able to dissect how much iron is in Kellogg's cornflakes, that was not really the proper education, because back in those days, we've tend to really rely on information coming from the food manufacturers too.
Yeah.
So, and you think about it, we've got 5 new food groups today. We've got frozen, fast, fried, junk, and processed. So people have a tendency to think that going to these coffee shops and having these ice caps and having, chicken nuggets and all of these things, that they're healthy because it's presented to us in a way that looks so desirable and so easy. But what's happening is that people are moving away from healthier foods. We all know that we should eat an apple. We all know we should eat some vegetables. We all know. But the problem is, with this misinformation, and also people relying on the medical system for give me a pill to fix it, they don't necessarily take on that personal responsibility. They just think it's going to be fine. And it depends on every person's and finances and stuff like that too. But I think that with what comes at us with the commercials, the magazine articles on, all these different foods, it's making people believe that this is healthy. And we know that it's not, because food is supposed to be live. You're supposed to get up from that dinner table in that restaurant feeling, that feels good. Not like, oh my God, my stomach. Because when you have that reaction, you've eaten the wrong thing. So we really have leaned on our government and our food suppliers to provide us with this food. And we now know more and more and more, because I think there's a paradigm shift happening, that these things are not healthy. These are not healthy foods. There's so many chemicals, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, not to mention we have all these people having problems getting pregnant we do have a massive problem in the world, and there needs to be a change. We really need to go back to whole foods, to rely on nature to provide us with that energy. And I think that what happens is people also, they don't realize how good they potentially could feel. It's like even energy. We really should have abundant energy all day, never get sleepy. I never get sleepy. I never have a nap. Energy is like just goes all day, and then you have your good sleep and you wake up and you do it all over again. But people come to me, they have to have a nap. They feel bloated, they feel constipated because they're just not getting the right foods for their body, but they're not really they're trusting in our food manufacturers to provide them with the nutrition. And all it really takes is for us to go to the little grocery store and get the strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, make a salad. Even just adding water to someone's diet is going to make a dramatic difference in how you feel, because if you don't drink water, you're going to be tired, or you're going to have a headache, or you might even have a migraine. But it's really about educating people, more and more and more about healthier foods and taking the emphasis off the processed foods, because we do live in a world with seriously ultra processed foods, and we're now seeing the ramifications of it globally. Look at how many people have type 2 diabetes, look at how many people have heart disease, look at how many people who have constipation. These are all easily rectified things, and we can easily manage this with the metabolic balance program, because they get the food that's right for their body, and it's delicious and it's filling and it's a lot of food too.
Yeah. So how does because you mentioned earlier in that, people get up and they just start off with all these sugary foods, a banana, coffee, and coffee is like a meal for some people, right?
Yeah.
So what would you tell a person, say not joining the program, but just, okay, I need to get started doing something. What would you tell them to eat in the morning? Not knowing the numbers, but just.
I would say, first of all, no low fat anything. Like, that's a no. No low fat, no zero fat yogurt, no zero fat anything. Because when you don't have fat, you're going to be hungry. So I would say they could start the day with a little bit of full fat yogurt. We usually use around 3.8% with some mangoes or apples or papaya, or they could have oatmeal with full fat milk, or they could have almonds and sunflower seeds with avocado, or they could have rye bread, 100% rye bread, smothered with avocado and piece of cheese on top of that with some fruit. So it's pretty basic stuff. But what's interesting about it is, number one, it's really colorful. If you look at what people are eating today, you just have to go to the airport and see that it's all beige foods. There's no color to this. So you really, I guess for your listeners, you need to eat color. Color is what's giving you vitality too. So the purples, the pinks, the reds, the greens, all of these colors. So the more beige, what's that saying I used to say all the time? The whiter the bread, the faster you're dead. So we want to make sure we have like the whole grains and like that. And even for lunch, a chicken salad or a chickpea salad with avocado and mango, or a piece of fish with a salad, or even a sandwich made with what we really do want you to use, like the rye bread, because it's really satiating. But and you can make a soup, you can make a stew. It's simple stuff. It's not, it really, people come and say, oh, this is going to become, it's not. You can make these food items so easily. You can whip together yogurt and fruit. You could have 2 eggs with vegetables and fruit for lunch, and bread, and dinner you could have a piece of meat with vegetables. And we don't use too many grains in the beginning of the program, but you can make a very satisfying meal just by preparing a piece of chicken or fish or meat with the vegetables, and use as much spices as you want, and you're going to feel satisfied and full, and you're going to have even greater elimination because of the extra fiber, because we know that fast frozen fried junk of processed food, it has no water, it has no vitamins, it has no enzymes, it has no fiber, and we need to be able to poop every day.
Right.
We want to get rid of all that stuff.
And what we know, right, it harbors the digestive system, right? It just sits there until you have something that can help move it out.
Yeah.
But I love that. I want to, because, the wonderful Dr. Lauren Michaels Harris is here. I wanted to highlight him because I know that he's on your program and I know that he's had some amazing results. So we're putting you out there, Dr. Lauren. I'm just going to put it out there. But he has lost 20 pounds in a little less than a month. Absolutely amazing results to think of, because a month is not a long period of time, right? When you think about losing weight, and he's confirming here, when you think about losing weight, a month is not a long period of time. So to understand how significant this is, to be able to look at your metabolic results, give you the right program based on your individual needs. Dr. Lauren is, the example of that. He's gotten the results and he's still going. But listen, 20 pounds in less than a month, that's absolutely amazing. And to have, and I know because I did speak with him, to have the energy behind it, to have, no joint pain, to feel good when it comes to some autoimmune issues, right? Like to have all of those things start to disappear just from one, reframing your mind. Because when you were just talking about people and what they can eat, I just kept thinking you have to just reframe your thinking. Really, it's not hard. It's just what you have to decide to adapt to, right? To be able to get the results that you want. So I think this is amazing, but I wanted to give him that shout out for one and just say that he's gotten some amazing results. We have proof right here that this works, that it really works. And it works in a way where you're not going to feel bogged down. You're not going to feel like you're dragging, right? You're not going to feel like you have to do something so astronomical, right? Like people think, oh, I gotta go outside and I gotta run and I have to do these rigorous workouts. No, this is getting results based on your body and what your body needs. So I wanted to mention that. So I know that, in the United States, after doing a little research, right, like food was medicine, pre 1920s, right? And then things shifted. So how do we get back to that? Like, what do you think about that? How do we go back to making sure that food is medicine?
I think we have to kind of think of the mentality of it's not what you're doing, it's what you're missing.
Mm.
So if I want to start, before I found metabolic balance, I knew that I couldn't change a person's diet overnight because they're going to resist me 100% because they like the things that they're eating. If we could help anybody even tonight with this idea, again, it's not what you're doing, it's what you're missing. Add the water, add more fruit, add more vegetables. When my kids were small, I had 3 boys and they ate like a lot. I would not order a pizza until they ate the veggies and the hummus. Then I would order the pizza. So if I left junk food on the kitchen counter after they came home from school, they're going to eat it. But if I left almonds and walnuts and sunflower seeds and some hummus and some Mary's crackers or whatever, they're going to eat that. So we need to bring into the diet what we're not having. So if we start to introduce, then you're you won't want to drink the pop. You won't want to have 4 coffees a day.
Yeah.
I remember I had a lady one time, she drank like 7 Cokes a day. I said, you can have your 7 Cokes a day, but let's have 2 liters of water first.
Mhm.
Well, when she did the 2 liters of water, she stopped drinking Coke.
Yeah.
So it was easy to integrate it that way because we just need to add things in because people, especially metabolic balance, targets inflammation and it's responsible for 90% of our diseases today. When you reduce inflammation by eating a non-inflammatory program or diet, you're going to feel so different. So once you start to feel different, and even with Lauren, we joked about how's he going to maintain this? Trust me, I'm going to snitch on him here a little bit. He ate some blueberry or blackberries one night. And I said, I don't think that were on your plan. And he did not feel good the next day. He goes, oh my God, you're right. These really affected me in a way that was creating more inflammation in my body. So these foods are precisely given to each person to help with whatever inflammatory conditions are going on. But I
Yeah.
really think we need to not complicate this. This is not rocket science. We have this food available to us. And honestly, Tracy, you know, and I know that this food is even way cheaper than eating the fast foods, right? The fast frozen junk process. It's way cheaper because a bag of apples is, you know, not that expensive. And that's part of your whole meal plan. And there's very, very little waste with this program too, because I know even as a teenager, I was on a diet and I found it quite expensive to eat, you know, drinking Slim Fast. And, you know, we tried all those types of things. But once I started to eat this way that, you know, we're talking about, I felt like a different person. I had the energy. I had the ability to work out hard and continue and maintain that energy throughout the day, because I think that people really don't realize how much more potential energy they can have. And when you have pain or headaches all the time, you kind of think it's normal, and it's not normal. And when it's gone, it's like I have clients that come to me and say, "Oh my God, before I started this, I had heartburn every single day. Now it's gone completely because the body was eating those acid forming foods that was creating that." So I think we have to work little steps for everybody to add things into the program. And then those other things, the cravings will start to go away for sure.
And the really crazy thing about our bodies too is, right, like when we start to put in all of the toxicity, right, the junk that comes from all the food, our bodies will still operate in lack, right? The bodies start to kind of adjust to what we're doing a little bit, even though, you know, we're putting in all this toxicity and we're putting in disease, right? And we're not operating at our optimal selves, but we will still continue to operate. So people think that it's okay because, well, I can still get up in the morning, I can still walk, I can still think, even though I'm a little foggy, but I can still think, right? So then they start to get used to that way of living until they go through something like this. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, but I wanted you to think about this question too, because I know when we first spoke, I asked you, can we turn this around a little bit and say, what do we do for the person that wants to get the metabolic balance program, but wants to gain weight instead of lose weight? And how do
Okay.
we do that? Because I want to,
Okay.
you know, just kind of give them something a little bit different. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that question. Here we go,
Perfect.
everybody.
Okay.
All right, everyone, and we are back. So before we went to break, I had just asked Jane a question about what about the person who wants to gain weight, but wants to do it the right way?
Well, it's a little different than somebody who wants to lose weight. What we do for these people, we still put them through the cleansing process, but we add between 3 and 9 tablespoons slowly of oil a day. Also, when somebody gets their program, they have specific amounts of protein, fats, and carbs. They do have to weigh it. So they may have 140 grams of chicken, 165 grams of vegetables. I will increase that for them to the point where we still have the 3 meals a day. We still follow the rules, but we're going to increase their amounts a lot more than somebody who's trying to lose weight. But it's the fat that we're going to add, because we know that, not that we ever count calories with this program. So, you know, but fat does contain, you know, a lot of good calories. But we have to do that slowly because we don't want anybody to feel a little bit nauseous. And the success rate is really good with that, because there are a lot of people who really do need to gain weight versus losing weight 100%.
Yeah. Another question for you, is this program right for someone who says, I just don't want to eat meat?
Yeah, we can take the meat off, we can take the cheese off, we just can't make a completely vegan plan because it won't be enough food for them. We want them to have at least eggs and fish, or, a little bit of dairy if we can do that, but we can't do a completely vegan plan.
And would you even challenge a person to say, well, maybe your metabolic results will say that you actually need chicken even though you don't want to eat it, or beef, or
Yeah.
whatever that is, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times I get blood results back and these people's are like so anemic,
Mhm.
like really anemic, to the point where I don't even know how they get out of bed in the morning. Their iron levels are so low, but they will incorporate, meats and foods that will bring up their iron. So it really does do so many things for people. But I love, because I had a client the other day, she couldn't even like walk to her car. She felt so tired. She thought it was her job. It wasn't her job. Her iron levels were so low because she never ate meat. Now, I'm not saying you have to eat meat. There's other ways that we can get the meat or get the B12 and iron supplements, but it really does make a big difference in people once they start eating the right foods, and they'll feel better eating that stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so good. So I didn't want to give them too much light, but we definitely have to talk about this. The weight loss drugs that are out there today that are giving people these quick results, but they're detrimental to their health. So can you talk a little bit about why that's not the best approach?
First of all, I think the worst thing about these drugs is that it doesn't teach you anything. And I'll give you a quick story. I had a client, fatty liver disease, high cholesterol, diabetes. We were able to get him completely back to normal again. His gastroenterologist invited me to come to the hospital to meet him. He said, I don't know what you did. I can't even do this, but this is incredible. We were chatting, and then he said to me, oh my God, I have to go to surgery. Do you want to come? And I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Let's go. So he takes me up to the surgery. He goes, stand right here. You'll get to see. He goes, one of the jobs I do here is I put this ball in someone's stomach and I fill it up with liquid. It stays there for 3 months. It costs $5,000. And then after 3 months, the ball comes out and they usually gain their weight back. And I really don't like doing this. So I really want to bring metabolic balance to this hospital. So here is an example of, that's just one thing that people do. We are all looking for a quick fix. But the problem with these things like Ozempic and all these other drugs, they do have so many side effects that we don't know at this point how bad they're going to be for us. And in some cases, I do think people need to take them. There are some cases. But what we really want to do with all of this is we want to teach people once and for all how to eat properly, because with these types of drugs, there's so many different things that are happening to people, but they're walking away with conditions that we're not 100% sure what the long-term effects of these are going to be, and it doesn't teach you anything about what you should be eating and what you should be drinking. It's great, but it's expensive, but it doesn't teach you, just like the ball going into the belly. And then he invited me to come back to that lady, pull the ball out. She gained the weight back in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because she didn't learn anything. Her belly was full, but she didn't learn anything. And what I love about Metabolic Balance is that people call me 5 years, 10 years down the road, say, you know what? I still follow the plan. I still feel amazing. Whenever if I just went on a cruise and I jumped on my plan when I got back, or I knew what rules I should follow when I'm traveling. So they don't have that up and down weight loss, or, because that's hard on the body too, to be going. And this is what frustrates me. I always think of my poor mother. I'm one of 9 kids, so you can imagine how busy she was. She was on a diet her entire life. And if she had only found out about metabolic balance, it would have been so much easier for her. Because every time we were at a dinner party, she couldn't eat this, she couldn't eat this, she couldn't eat this. And I thought, it's such a shame to spend your whole adult life on a diet. And she did that right till she passed away. And it's unfortunate, because this could have given her the tools to make so much difference in her health. And she had some serious health conditions that I've seen, the health conditions that she had, that have been completely erased with the Metabolic Balance program.
Oh, I love that. And I would even challenge it, right, to say that this is the quick fix, really, right? And then you're not on drugs for the rest of your life because oftentimes, like you said, even with the surgery, right, someone will gain the weight back. That happens
Yeah,
with the drugs too. Like the
yeah,
people who go off the drugs and then they'll gain the weight back and then they end up going back on the drugs, right? And then it's just this vicious cycle of things that your body does not need, right? So I love that. And we've got the proof, right? Because Dr. Lauren is here. We know that this is a quick healthy fix for you because it happens pretty quickly once people have the designed plan that they need for their body.
absolutely.
He
Yeah.
says these daily processes are already becoming habits in my life. I love that. Can tell they will remain with me forever. I love that. I love that. And I want to also say, right, when you start to understand what your body needs in terms of what you need to consume, the cravings for all of the things that you once had, they go away. Like all of that sugar, and they start to go away because you're not putting it in. So there's no memory there anymore, right? Especially when you start with a cleanse. I love that you start with a cleanse, especially when you
Hmm.
start with a cleanse to clear the body of some of that toxicity that's in there. It starts to clear out the things that are harboring in your gut that are going to give you those cravings, right? And then you start to fill it with all the nutritious food that you need. It starts to switch the flip in your body. So I love
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. And it's funny, when I became a coach, we all had to go on the plan.
Mhm.
And so I did this like way back in 2013. And what I craved for my treat meal, this sounds so bizarre, but when I was growing up, we had crunchy peanut butter sandwiches with grape jelly on a white piece of bread. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I think I'm going to have that on my treat meal. When I ate it, I thought I was eating pure icing sugar. It was so disgusting. I literally threw it out into the garbage and I thought, I cannot believe, and it was a weird thing to want for a treat meal,
Yeah.
but I could not believe how sweet that was because your taste buds really change. Once you start eating real food, you can taste the flavor of food so much more because it's not masked by the high salt or the high sugar or the chemicals they're putting into the food.
Mhm.
But I had so many countless people tell me that I used to love eating, I never eat it again. And I actually had a client the other day, she had a treat meal of French fries. And she was so sick the next day. She goes, I am done. I will never eat this again. And she said she ate it all the time. She goes, it wasn't worth it because she had so much inflammation. And as soon as she had the fries, she probably had a few more than she should have. As soon as she had the fries, her joints were just aching all the next day. And she's, I'm so done with it. So it speaks for itself. I don't have to, talk to her about not eating French fries or not eating cookies. She just naturally stopped eating them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember when I changed my diet completely after having cancer. Like most things I just did not want. And I same thing. I just felt so horrible when I was eating them. One of my favorite snacks became fermented sauerkraut, and people laugh at me to this day. I still love fermented sauerkraut, and it's just cabbage and there is salt in it, but it's just cabbage and salt. And people laugh at my whole family laughs at me because they're like, "How could you just?" And I take a very small amount because of the salt content, right? But I take a little. I have these little porcelain bowls. They're really small, little snack and I just eat fermented sauerkraut as a snack. And they laugh at me, but it's good to me. It tastes good to me, but my body's
And
just used
it's
to
and
it.
it's so good for your microbiome too.
Yeah.
It's like one of those, yeah, and it's got great fiber and it just puts a good bacteria back into your gut. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. I love it too. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
It's not just for hot dogs, it's for eating,
That's
right?
right. That's right. That's right. And eat it by itself. And I've never been one for hot dogs. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
no, me either. Me either, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you want people to know? Oh, wait. Before I ask you that, I had another question.
Sure.
How often should people do these metabolic results, like test results, right? Because the body changes, things happen. How often should they get that done?
So, generally speaking, a person can do a plan for themselves. And, but over time, if things are, they're feeling something, they might want to do another plan later on and do new blood work. But generally speaking, people only need to do it once unless there's a change in the biochemistry of the blood work. So, but I do have clients that have done it, at least two times. Lots of clients who've lost like over 80 pounds, they want a new plan because their chemistry has changed. So before they had GERD, before they had arthritis, now they're almost at their goal weight, but they don't have those symptoms anymore. So now they want food for the whole body based off of the chemistry of their body. So yeah, they don't need to do it very often, but they can do a check-in for blood values at any time.
Yeah, that's great. And I also wanted to mention, because you mentioned GERD, and I know because of what I was sharing with you, what my son had recently gone through. We often don't know like those things that are happening. And it's very sad that, you go to a doctor to get blood work and something like GERD, and I'm just using that as an example, but it could be, a plethora of things, but something like GERD is not even identified in the blood work. And then they come to you and they get these tests done and they find out, oh my gosh, I have this. I didn't even know this was there. Why is that happening to people? Like, what's the healthcare system lacking in the blood work that they're doing versus what you're doing?
Well, I think part of the problem, and especially with this client that I had tonight, she had full on fatty liver disease. She actually told me her doctor told her nothing he could do for her. So I think it's a problem with too many people. I think that here I go through the blood work like very, like really, I take that blood work in and help the client understand what this all means. But I don't think our medical system allows the practitioners, the doctors, to take all that time to go through it, because I can't tell you how many times I've said to the client, you got a thyroid problem, you got type 2 diabetes, you've got anemia, you've got et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a money problem. I think it's a timing problem. I think it's, they're pushing a lot of pharmaceuticals, so they're wanting people to take these different things. But I think what we personally have to do is be very, very proactive in our own state of health. So if I have a blood problem on my blood test, I'm going to talk to my doctor. I'll do my own homework too, but I'm not going to let this go. And I think people just believe your blood work's fine. But what you need to do is get a copy of it, because that's your blood work, and really look at it. And if there's something off, then ask them what this means for you, because you don't want to just completely trust that everything's fine, because often it's not fine.
Yeah. And I even changed that they even do some of the work that you're probably doing in terms of are they even looking at certain things? Like your liver tests, right? To look at the amylase, and right, is that the amylase and the lipase? Like some tests don't do those things. They don't go that deep.
Yeah, that's why we do a full panel of all the liver enzymes, and which is critical to find out.
Yeah, for sure. I want to let people know, one, that you have a book out called The Metabolic Balance Kitchen. Here it is, everybody. Make sure that you go get it. And I'm going to show you exactly where you can. You're going to go to janehealthcoach.com and pick up your copy of the book. I actually have my copy. I've been reading it. It's absolutely amazing. Get the information that you need, some of the information that you've heard here. But I want to challenge you that even if you are not looking to lose weight, that you reach out to Jane via her website to at least understand your metabolic results. And then you can put a plan together with Jane that's going to be right for you in whatever stage that you're in. If you want to lose weight, if you want to gain weight, or if you just want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, which is the biggest thing that she's promoting here, right? So janehealthcoach.com, you can reach out to her there, connect with her, make sure that you do buy the book so that you can have the information readily available right to you, and get those blood work and those blood tests done with her, and figure out what you need. And I'm going to tell you, because I have gone through so much with my son of late recently. You cannot get this type of blood work from a doctor. I'm going to tell you that right now. The health insurance companies, they don't cover it. And you have to request it, and you probably have to fight a lot to get it, because they feel like if you're not showing any symptoms and signs of something being wrong, they are not going to do this extensive blood work. Jane has it right here for you. Figure out what's happening in your body and let's live healthy, everyone. Jane, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Definitely,
Tracy.
you are welcome to come back anytime you want.
Okay,
Because
let's
this
do it.
information is so good. It's so good. I really appreciate it. Again, everyone, janehealthcoach.com. Make sure that you reach out to her. And we love you out there. We appreciate you. Make sure that you connect with us right here on the Whole Living Show next Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. We will see you then. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.